Where it starts to get concerning is when you have figures from President Trump on down who are trying to use this moment to suggest that there is inherent violence on the left and that the government should be seeking out and rooting out these organizations when we have no indication that this shooter acted at the behest of or through the organization of any of these groups. And I think when you start to bleed those two concepts together and create this notion that in this incredibly fraught moment in the wake of this horrific shooting, when you foment the idea that we have to be at each other's throats politically, I think that's a dangerous place to be.
Why did I do it? I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
So can I ask you? So
he has flat.
Scott, just explain what you just read.
That is the message that the shooter, Tyler Robinson, sent to his roommate.
The left is doing everything they can to deny certain information about Charlie Kirk's shooter from getting out because, of course, it goes against their narrative. And you have people like Kaitlan Collins still saying that there's no known motive for what this horrible person actually did. But Ted Cruz is to go ahead and call her out in epic fashion. So let's go ahead and jump into these clips.
Well, what I've called for, they're clearly carrying out acts of terrorism. They're carrying them out domestically. They're organizing, they're engaged in direct acts of violence. And indeed, one of the things that I asked Director Patel is what evidence is there that there are other people who had foreknowledge of this assassination of Charlie Kirk. We know that he was engaged in Reddit conversations with others, and we know that the shell casings that he used in the rifle had Antifa slogans on them and had transgender slogans on them. And it appears from what's been reporting that there were extensive discussions in various Reddit and Discord organizations. To the extent others had foreknowledge and aided and assisted, that may well be a manifestation of Antifa violence or transgender violence. We've seen a disproportionate incident of transgender violence as well. And so examining what groups potentially are behind these acts of violence, I think it is overwhelmingly clear things like the anti-Semitic protest had money behind it. With respect to Charlie Kirk's murder, that is not determined yet, but I think it should be investigated very thoroughly.
Yeah, as Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, just said, right now they don't have any evidence of an organization. Obviously, they're still looking into this. But on the bullet casings, I don't remember there being a transgender one on there. I remember him saying there was one that said, if you can read this, you're gay. It was referencing internet memes. But on what you just said there about investigating
there is, hold on a second, Caitlin, there is a transgender
if there is funding.
Hold on, Caitlin. Caitlin, there is a transgender. There's a reference to... Do you see my bulge, which is, I'm told, is an online meme for transgenderism? And Director Patel testified that the murderer here was living with his romantic partner, who was a transgender man transitioning to being a woman. And so you have both the shell casing that directly references transgenderism. And in fact, Charlie Kirk was murdered moments after he was asked a question about transgender mass shootings. And that's when the shooter filed. And so... do we have conclusive proof at this case?
Well, hold on,
no,
Senator.
But I will say this. Some of the most disturbing polling numbers that I see are the number of Democrats who believe that this left-wing activist was somehow a Republican. I mean, that really shows the media not doing the job they should be doing.
Okay, Senator, but one moment, because you said a lot there, and we don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously, we've heard what the governor's had to say, what the FBI director said today.
Come on, we don't have a motive yet.
We know
we don't have a motive yet.
What's happening with?
Really, that's CNN's position.
I mean, from law enforcement,
he just happened to fire the gun in celebration. You can't tell the motive.
Senator, that's not what I said. And I said law enforcement hasn't laid out a direct motive. They've laid out a lot of evidence here of these messages and what the shooter said to
they've said that he was a left-wing activist who hated Charlie Kirk. Pardon?
Senator, with all due respect, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with you politically. I'm saying that law enforcement has not put a specific motive. You know that there's a difference of what they're putting in a legal argument than what you're talking about. And you're not even we're not even arguing about the facts here.
What you just said is false,
Senator
Caitlin.
No.
Caitlin, facts. Hold on a second. Let me answer your statement, because what you said is factually
Senator, with
false.
all due respect,
law enforcement.
With all due respect, you're
putting
a lot of statements
go ahead,
that I did
give
not say. And I want to get back to We just laid out the facts.
You
in the
just
opening
said
of the
law
show,
enforcement
what we
has
learned
not
from
made out a
prosecutors
motive. That
today.
is
And we just spoke
objectively
to the
false.
Deputy Attorney General.
That is
So
objectively false.
they
What
have not
you were
said a
saying is
concrete motive of
objectively
exactly
false,
what it was.
and
They've laid out
CNN should
every
not be
evidence that we
engaged in
know so far.
misinformation. Caitlin, answer my question.
It's not
Have you seen the
misinformation,
polling
Senator.
that shows the vast majority of
you were
Democrats
taking what I
believe
said,
this murderer is a
about
Republican and a
that.
Trump supporter? Have you seen that polling?
Let me get back to my questions, though, Senator.
So it's hard to believe that Kaitlan Collins is able to sit there with a straight face and say that, oh, we don't know of any possible motive this person may have actually had, even though today charges were filed and reasons were actually given. If we come over here as reported by The Guardian, in seized text produced by prosecutors as they charged the 22-year-old with capital murder and other crimes of his arrest, Robinson is quoted as saying that he's had enough of Kirk's hatred. All right. And some hate can't be negotiated out. And then, of course, you have down here his mother saying that, oh, he's becoming more political and has started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans right oriented. Okay, so yes, we do have clear motivation behind his attack. And if you don't believe that, by all means, look at the bulge comments that Ted Cruz mentioned. And of course, the etched catch fascist phrase that is widely used among the left. Okay, but what we have here is basically the Democrats refusing to understand the truth about this particular scenario. All right, instead, they're going to say, well, there's hate on both sides. So you really have to, bring that to account so we can bring down the temperature, bring down the rhetoric in this country. But in this case, we know exactly what is happening. But this is just indicative of the left. When you think about the two sides, you have, of course, the Democrats in control of the mainstream media, always saying, oh, Republicans and conservatives are Nazis, they're fascists, they're dictators, they're the worst people ever. All right. What do you think was going to happen after using that language for so long? And then, of course, radicalizing the youth. And this is something that's actually very interesting as well and kind of scary. We have some polls coming out discussing political violence. And over here from YouGov, you can see that a quarter of respondents who identified as very liberal said violence can sometimes be justified to achieve political goals. Okay, what does that sound like to you? Violence to achieve political goals. Oh, terrorism. So you have the younger generation of these supposedly liberal people who are endorsing violence against people they oppose just so they can get their political will. All right. And this, of course, is a fight they do not want to start because they are ill-equipped to handle it. And also, of course, it would lead to the destruction of this nation unless, of course, we can nip this type of radical ideology being indoctrinated into the youth in the bud. Okay. But of course, what's also interesting is how effective the Democrat messaging has been on this. All right. Because they have actually convinced people that Charlie Kirk's murderer is somehow a Republican, a MAGA person. And over here, you can see that in another YouGov poll, respondents were asked about the partisan affiliation of Kirk's killer. 24% said that as far as they knew, the person who shot Kirk is a Republican. And 21% said the shooter was a Democrat. So the left has been very effective in their messaging, and that's why they do it. That's why they spread these lies, because they want to obfuscate the actual truth that is happening. And that, of course, is the simple truth that this murderer was a far-left individual who got indoctrinated through possibly online content, and that these young leftists are becoming more radical and more willing to commit violence to achieve their goals. And, of course, we saw this all play out with Charlie Kirk. All right. And until the Democrats start to acknowledge this, until they start to say that, hey, yeah, tone down the rhetoric on both sides, sure, but start with themselves. All right, start with themselves right now and say, you know what, maybe it's not a good idea to call everybody Hitler when you know for a fact that they're not. And that's how you know they're not serious about toning down the rhetoric whatsoever. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.